everyone. So I'm still in the car. I'm still doing my video here. But I just saw this tweet and it's so funny. Statement from Mr. Peter Obi. So he did a statement. Remember that the central bank had increased the MPR. What was the meaning of that MPR? Monetary policy rate. They've increased it recently. I read about it a bit, and of course there were some explanations that were given on the effect it will have, the fact that it's going to make interest rates now higher, and different this thing. But this is Mr. Peter Obi coming out to give his own take on that particular thing, and he starts with something. He says, "Let me confess that the label of being a vintage Onitsha-based trader does not in any way confer on me the status of an economic expert." A lot of people, that's what they use, especially those in government and their psycho fans. Oh, he's an Onitsha-based trader. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about economic policies and stuff like that. That's one of the things people always talk about in terms of traders. There's a derogatory sort of like, how do I put it? I don't know why we're driving this one. This thing is so dark now. Sorry. There's a derogatory connotation when people are being called, traders and stuff like that. So it's always as if people just feel that, oh, if you're a trader, you're one illiterate, an uneducated person. Why is this thing just turning dark? An uneducated person who couldn't probably get a white collar job, and so that's the reason why you're trading. And so he started it. So for those that will even do yabbing, yes, he's an Onitsha based trader, but the thing is that the fact that you're the one trading, you are affected by economic policy, so you sort of like usually know how these things affect you, and that's what really matters, because you need someone who is able to feel the pain of the people. So that's what is always really required. So he says, "Let me confess that the label of being a vintage Onitsha-based trader does not in any way confer on me the status of an economic expert. With my vast trading knowledge and my involvement in risk sector, I am of the strong opinion that the recent decision of the Monetary Policy Committee to increase the monetary policy rate MPR to 22.5% and the cash reserve ratio CRR to 45% will further worsen the economic situation of most Nigerian households, as it is bound to cause more job losses in the productive sector, especially manufacturing and other sectors that rely on bank loans and credit facilities for their funding needs." So this is sort of like, just sort of like basic, because by increasing it now, when banks are going to give out loans, they're going to increase, loan, and so loans are going to be more expensive for people to get in. As when loans are expensive, then people will not want to go and take loans and all of that. And then the manufacturing industries that rely on all of these loans to be able to have their running capital would then not be able to collect these loans, and then some of them will be forced to close down, and when they close down, it's going to lead to job losses. When there's job losses, there's not going to be disposable income that people can use in the economy for it to show up, for companies to get their monies and all of that. It's just this crazy circle that goes on, and at the end of the day, the economy is more affected. And so he says, tightening liquidity in the financial system does not improve productivity, that is food production, which is the major cause of inflation in Nigeria. Moreover, only about 12% of 3.6 trillion of the total money in circulation is in the banking system, which means that 88%, about 3.2 trillion, is outside the banking system. So this measure would rather be counterproductive, as it would not address the intended purpose of managing the money supply. So of course, when there's too much money in the economy, so what normally happens is that there would be inflation, because you now have a lot more money chasing the scarce produce that you have. Because at the end of the day, in terms of production production is sort of like limited to an extent. You can't just wake up and say that, oh, I'm going to increase the production of this. It takes a lot of things to get there. But of course, the government can decide that, oh, they're just going to print money, and then you print this money, you dump it in the economy. There is more money. Where you needed 100 naira to buy something, now you have 1,000 naira or 10,000 naira chasing that particular thing, and so it becomes more expensive. And so what he's trying to say here is that thing that you're trying to say, so that you now make this thing more expensive, don't let people not be collecting more, because there are expansionary measures that you take in fighting inflation. There's the contractionary methods that you take in fighting inflation. This is one of the contractionary methods that you take. So what you're trying to do is that you're trying to mop up the monies that are out there, so that you don't have too much money chasing. But like what Mr. Peter Obi is trying to say here is the fact that really wouldn't work, because a lot of the money in the first place anyways is already out of the banking system. So let me continue. It says, so this measure would rather be counterproductive, as it will not address the intended purpose of managing the money supply. These new measures will worsen the fragile economy, as the supply of funds will dry up for the real sector, and the new MPR rate hike will push the interest rate on loans to above 30%, which will be difficult for the real sector operators, especially manufacturers and SMEs, to repay, resulting obviously in increased bad loans and worsening the nation's economic situation. The most critical way to manage our high rate of inflation and decline in production is for the government to address the issue of insecurity in the country, which will allow for increased food and crude oil production and an overall increase in production. Sorry, I don't know what's happening as we're driving different parts. The whole camera thing is darkening, and I just see everywhere is just darkening, so just manage it as it is. But you see, this is one of the things I always say whenever Mr. Peter Obi bring out these issues. He always brings out the solution that needs to be done to tackle it. If we sit down and you see the I did a video earlier where I talked about the national security advisor. Instead of him to focus on fighting insecurity, he's busy going about Binance and arresting them, the cryptocurrency platform, arresting them and all of that. This is how crazy this whole thing has turned out to be. Insecurity is our major problem. Because of insecurity, people are not able to farm, people are not able to travel, businesses are being stalled. Even in case of our own oil production, where we get our dollar for, it's not going the way that it ought to go. And these are the things that people should really sort of like focus on, not just to say that, just on the issue of fighting every other thing rather than the main problem that we have. Going back to Mr. Peter Obi's statement, and he said, let me read it out again. The most critical way to manage our high rate of inflation and decline in production is for the government to address the issue of insecurity in the country, which will allow for increased food and crude oil production and an increase of an overall increase in production, which will make products, especially food, cheaper. This way, we would increase our productivity as well as restore the confidence of FDIs and SPIs to come back to the country. We're talking about foreign direct investments and all of that. I must caution that what the Nigerian economy needs now is hard-headed, practical originality and results. Tinkering with classic economic theories can only deepen our crisis. That's it from Mr. Peter Obi. You heard him. Even if you are going to hear him, he say he might be an Onitsha base, but he still get something for his head. And that's what really matters, instead of what we have right now, where you have master strategist with no strategy. Thank you for watching. Bye.